I'm starting to see the numbers steady out. So I'd say if you want to get started at least with intros, Dave, you are good to go.
All right, cool. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to what first-year families need to know and when they need to know it. I am really excited about this panel discussion. We have actually some great folks on this call with me today, and I'm going to jump right into it. And first, we have to do the obligatory, of course, logistics. Just so you know, lines will be on mute. There is a chat feature, Q&A, where you can enter questions. Mel, who's also on this call, will help us kind of negotiate through those. But definitely, if you have questions, enter them in there. We'll also send out the recording and the slide deck after this, so don't feel the need to take notes or anything like that if there's going to be a recording afterwards. And then also feel free to go to campusesp.com/research for more information. I feel obliged to just do, again, the now word from our sponsors. This is typically, if we're more organized, we'd have somebody with a British accent taking you through Campus ESP and what we do. But because we don't have that, I'm going to just real quick, in case you've never heard of Campus ESP, if this is your first webinar, give you the rundown of who we are. We are a technology platform that helps colleges and universities support student success through parent engagement. And we help you keep parents informed, alert parents when their support's needed, help you strengthen enrollment efforts, and deliver analytics on the ROI of parent engagement. We are a startup, but we are being used by over 160 colleges and universities. We're based out of Philadelphia, and about 2 million families use our platform. If you want to learn more, this is the wrap up here, folks. You can go to our website. Again, there's a blogs and research link, which I think is really useful, and also webinars. And you can see a whole bunch of case studies, webinars and research on there. We really try to highlight some of the stories from our customer base. And even if you're not using Campus ESP, it'll give you good ideas about what to do and where to go with parent engagement. Whew. Okay, we're through that. Now we're into the meat of the presentation. So first off, I'd like to start off with introducing our panelists. I'm going to start with myself, and then I'm going to throw it over to Quincy. We decided in preparation for this panel discussion that we're going to come up with one word each to describe how we feel about the fall. But let me first introduce myself. I am the CEO and co-founder of Campus ESP. I'm going to be the moderator today, if you will. I've been working on Campus ESP for a little over 5 years, and I've been in education technology for, I guess, close to 20 years. And most of that was with Ellucian, SunGard, SCT. My word for the fall is finally, because my kids are back in school finally for the first time in 18 months. They are twin 10th graders, and if you can feel the pain in my voice, I know it's shared by a lot of folks out there. So I'd like to start off by introducing folks to Quincy Spencer. And Quincy, would love to have your introduction here, and also what your one word for fall is.
Well, thank you, Dave. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Quincy Spencer, and I serve as the Director of New Student and Family Programs at the University of Arkansas. I've been working here for the past 13 years with parent and family programs and really taking our family experience to the next level. I would say my word for the fall is ready.
I love it. I love the optimism. And Quincy, I'm really excited to have you on this this panel discussion. So can't wait to hear some of your comments and your answers for some of these questions coming up. So thanks for joining us. We also have Callie Rimfeld from Misericordia University. And Callie, would love to have you introduce yourself and understand what your one word for fall is.
Awesome. Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Callie Rimfeld. I'm the Dean of Students at Misericordia University, small school outside of the home of the office near Scranton, PA. Very excited to be with you. My one word is energy. There's a whole energetic vibe happening on campus, which is great to see. So happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, and also exciting that folks are getting back to campus. And last but not least, the person who stole my office for this discussion is Jack Ellis. Jack, do you want to provide an intro in your connection to Campus ESP, and also, of course, your one word for fall?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Jack Ellis. I am a customer success manager here at Campus ESP. I've been with Campus ESP for about 2 years now, and I actually joined when I was at Temple University as a content intern. So I go way back to my college, my undergrad days, way back being 2019. So you can be mad at me for that. But I am kind of the content guy on the customer success team. So that's why I was kind of invited here to share my knowledge of the information that we pull for first year families and the trends that we see across all of our partners on what works and what doesn't for first year families.
Awesome.
Oh, and my one word for fall, hate to say it, it is pumpkin. I am obsessed with coffee, and pumpkin coffee is the highlight of my fall. So I told everyone I had a few ready, and that is my cheesiest option. So I'm going to go with that.
I am not a pumpkin fan, and I'll just leave it at that. Like, I love pumpkins, but all these pumpkin coffee, pumpkin beer, pumpkin everything, I think it's a overkill. But we'll talk about that in a different webinar. So just to give folks watching this a little bit more detail about Misericordia and University of Arkansas, Callie and Quincy, I was hoping like you could maybe just say maybe a brief blurb about how many parents you're engaging. Again, you're doing it through Campus ESP, but I don't think that's the only way to engage with parents. What I have on this slide are your open rates for first year families, which, by the way, the click rate, Callie, for your first year families, 38% is pretty outstanding, I have to say. But let's start with Callie. Callie, like how many first year families are you engaging with, or maybe just parents overall as well?
I think for our first year families, we're around 700 users. So, and then I think we're over 1,000 overall. We just implemented last summer. So slowly creeping up our numbers. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Quincy, how about on your side? Oh, the obligatory.
I just did right. I did it. My bad. Sorry. We knew it was going to happen. It was me. And so I would say for first year families, I'll put them in two groups. We have our parents that attend, our families that attend orientation. So we automatically upload them right at the beginning. And so this summer, because we had a modified orientation program, we had about 2,000 families that we put in. But then we added another 7,000 or so, 6,000, 7,000 up into the system that didn't attend an orientation session this summer. So that's, for first year. And then I have probably 25,000 that we have in their entirety for the system right now.
Okay, great. One of the reasons we wanted to have both of you is the example of a small school, a large school. I think there's going to be a lot of things that are overlapping as far as advice and insights, but also some things that are maybe unique to smaller schools or larger schools. All right, so let's get started with the questions here. If you're at home watching this or in your office, I'm going to probably alternate back between the camera view here and the slide just to keep it a little bit interesting. But one of the first questions I want to start off with is, why are first year families so important? And Quincy, I'd love to start with you here, just your read on like why first year families specifically of your parent population are just important.
Yeah. For us, I look at first year families as literally providing the foundation for their students' experience here at Arkansas. And so when I'm talking to parent and family members at orientation, I always tell them that we want to make sure that you know about all the resources and tools here on campus, because we know that your students, anytime that they have an issue or a problem, the first person they're going to call is you back home. And so we want you to know that we have their back on campus. We know they're going to call you first, but if we could tell you about these resources and services we have on campus, then you could tell them, because we could send them messages, we could send them emails, out the wazoo. They're not going to come to us first. They're going to call home. And so we want to make sure that our families back home know about the resources and tools on campus. Just because of those issues what happens if? And that's where we are with parents, like, oh, well, what happens if this happens to my student? And so we just want them to know, hey, that's why we're here. That's why we value your input and your experience with your students' experience. And that's why you're so important for us.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like your opportunity to set expectations, especially with them, and make sure they understand the resources that are available to them.
Yep.
Callie, same for you or a slightly different?
Same. I think families are putting their trust in us if they know that the resources are available. They can refer the students to our resources, but they also get our face and our name so that they know they can build a relationship with us and even pick up the phone where necessary when something's going awry. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but we're here.
Do you think they have higher expectations when their student goes to a smaller school for that kind of attention?
Yeah, small schools, they want high touch, high interaction. And when they arrive to our campus, they get that in their visits and they want that to continue throughout the year. So knowing us, knowing that communication happens regularly is very important.
All right, I'm going to rapid fire with some of these questions. So I'm going to go to the next question. Jack, I promised to bring you in here, of course. But as I go through these questions, we're going to have a couple data points just to give some perspective of what we're seeing out there in the marketplace. One of our partners is Ruffalo Noel Levitz. We did a survey that we co-sponsored with them in 2020, where we surveyed over 14,000 families of current students. And in 2021, we expanded it to over 36,000 families. One of the data points I like calling out is that we found that 76% of parents expect communication at least weekly. And by the way, this is up from 64% a year earlier. So what we're seeing at Campus ESP is just heightened activity with parent expectations. They want, whether or not you can deliver it or not, they mostly want regular weekly communication. Which of course puts a lot of strain on your resources and maybe sets some unrealistic expectations. But as a lead into this next few questions here, actually multiples, do you have a communication strategy for first year families? And like, how did you start? Like, where did you start there? And how did you get the data you need to start? Callie, would love if you kicked us off here.
Sure. Yeah. So last year we recognized we didn't have a lot of our contact information that we would hope that we would collect as students apply and deposit into our university. So we relied a lot on Facebook and Facebook groups, parent and family groups. And so collecting that information, outreaching and asking them to sign up for Campus ESP. And then we started building in within our systems of how do we collect that from our students as they're applying. We also spent some money and got postcards, and that's another huge grab for our upperclassmen students past their first year where families are really engaged. The upperclassmen families got buy-in more from those postcards. So that's where we really started. And now it's just part of our system that we do regular data dumps from our admissions side.
Ask a quick follow-up there. And then I want to go to Jack because he works with a lot of schools that kind of start that are just starting. Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this probably is something that a lot of schools face out there, which is how do you, Facebook was like kind of the start of your parent engagement, and then did you evolve from there? And what was that process? What did that process look like?
So we still have our Facebook more for interaction between families, asking for rides back and forth from campus, things like that. But we utilize that as a starting point and saying our main point of communication is going to be Campus ESP. So we still utilize it, Facebook, but not in the same extent as we had in the past. And we also know families think Facebook is toxic, and so they don't even go on there too.
What?
So what? Toxic Facebook? No. But yeah, we still utilize it in some ways, but that was our key starter.
All right, thanks. Jack, just from across the schools that you're working with, and maybe just tell us like how many schools you work with, I guess, these last 3 months, or some indicator of how all the schools. What are you seeing here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say I worked with probably about 30 schools since the beginning of the year. So it's been a while there. And I think I'm seeing that the most important thing is just to meet families where they are currently for you, because you're interacting in some way with them, and also just to kind of get them the information in as many different places as you can. So if that's, posting a sign up link on Facebook and also sending a sign up link out over email, and kind of getting as many links out there, as many folks to just see what you need them to see in, wherever they are. And you might see some folks maybe, like Callie said, never sign into Facebook, but they are talking to their student every day. And if you send their student an email, maybe that's successful for them. So I think having kind of that multimodal place to get more families included in your communication can be important. And I think also we've seen a lot of creative things on the customer success team, pulling information from a housing emergency contact form or from FAFSA information. There's definitely creative ways to kind of pull parent information and import it into the system if you are having trouble getting more signups or getting more folks to sign up even outside of Campus ESP for listservs and things like that. So lots of creative ways to just pull the data from other campus partners as well.
Yeah, I would think also just having a website, a landing page.
Yeah.
Surprised how many schools do not have a place for parents to go, and if they don't give them a place to go, they're going to go where they want to go and call who they want to call, and that might not be where you want them to go.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll add on to that too. I think going back to what Quincy said, they're probably the students are gonna call their family. Family's gonna do a quick Google, and if they can find, University of Arkansas families, and there's a link to a portal that they can sign on to, make a comment, or somewhere that they can send an email, I think it's probably a good channel to just get more folks interested when they need to be.
Quincy, how about you? Like, where did you start, and did any of these things that Callie and Jack mentioned, resonate with you as the starting point for what you've done?
So years ago, we started by collecting the only information that we would get on parent and family members would be from orientation. And so during the summer, we work with our admissions office for orientation directly. So we're with them the whole time. And so when parents sign up to attend orientation, we then capture that information for them, from them. And so over the past couple of years, we've been very fortunate to just have that relationship where we get that information right then and there. Unfortunately, not everybody attends orientation. And so then we were like, okay, how else can we get this information? So then we went back to the admissions team and said, hey, can we make sure that we're getting parent data on the application for admission? And so that's where we get that second area, that second group of parent information. And so we still get the information from over the summer. And so we'll upload those automatically. And, talking to them, I tell them, you don't have to do anything. We will automatically upload you into the system, and then you'll get a message for you to create your profile. Okay, if you don't attend orientation, we then get that information from admissions probably in late summer, we'll get that information, upload all those parents into the system. Yes, it's gonna be some of the same ones, but hey, they're getting that message multiple times. And so we've just been very, very fortunate for that to work in our favor. And then word of mouth, we have the website, of course, Facebook groups and everything. But over the past couple of years, it just happens and it just keeps on. And they know, oh, I need to make sure I join the portal. Oh, I need to make sure I get my email address to them. And so it just kind of happens. And we've been very fortunate.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, like ultimate jinx, right? It's 2021 after all.
Right.
I definitely see a lot of activity. Well, we see a lot of activity in the summertime too. Like that's when parent engagement is at an all-time high. So it's really your opportunity, into the early part of the fall to reach those families.
And Callie, you had mentioned the postcard. We also send a postcard to all parent and family members. They all get that in probably March, April, if they're an incoming student, incoming family, encouraging them to sign up to attend orientation with their student, but then also encouraging them to go ahead and join the family portal right then and there.
That's great. All right, thank you for that. I want to switch gears a little bit and share some more data that we got from the RNL Campus ESP research. This is channels used to communicate, both actual channels and preferred channels by parents. Remember, this is not just first-year families, it's all families from first, second, third, fourth year. One thing that I always like pointing out is you can interpret this chart lots of different ways, but the clear thing you need to focus on is email. And I know folks who have heard me speak before have heard this, but you just have to have an email strategy, even if it's just MailChimp or something like that. Most parents, and we just did the survey, it's not released even for families of prospective students, they had almost the exact same rates as families of current students, which is they prefer email. There's maybe some interest in texting, but if you want to reach the majority of your families, email's a way to do that. Of course, website, portal, lots of different options there, but email's Email is really important. All right, so keep on rolling here. Next question I wanted to ask is, what types of students and families require the most support? And Jack, I'd like to start with you here because again, you've got that, you can kind of see across 30 schools. Are there specific segments that you see that just are maybe more involved or require more resources?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first gen families is the first one that comes to mind, probably the most obvious one. And I think there's two things for first gen families that I think is really important to realize here. And one, it's that some of them probably know what they need to know, right? They just haven't experienced it, but they might know, like, I need to find out how my student can register for housing, how my student can fill out the FAFSA, things like that. But I think there's a whole other piece of college knowledge. And even if their parent did go to school, college is completely different for students now. So helping to educate first year families about what it is that they don't even know that they don't know, right? And just providing like a syllabus or just some orientation materials right when folks kind of get into whatever your communication strategy is, to kind of get them caught up on whatever they may be missing can be really important there. So of course, first gen families, I think is the one that comes to mind most, but I've also seen commuter students and out-of-state students can be two other populations that are super important to kind of give them important information, make sure maybe they aren't able to visit their students. So maybe they need a little bit more communication from the school, more specialized communication from the school to make them feel comfortable about, you know, their student being farther away from them than they're used to and things like that. So first gen families, commuter students, and out-of-state students are probably the ones that I see engage generally much more highly than your general populations.
Okay. Thanks, Jack. Callie, similar from your perspective that you're seeing out there?
Yeah, right on. The only other thing that I would add is you know your population at your school, what students you attract. At Misericordia, we have a highly used student success center for students that might need extra academic or social support. And so we know that those families need more support as well, need more resources, and want that because they want their students to be extra successful. So having a community just for families in that population is appropriate. So you know your university and who you attract. So make sure you think specifically for your community.
That's helpful. Thanks. Quincy, anything on your side to add there?
Everything they said, but then in addition, I would say our in-state parents. And so the states, folks that are native to Arkansas, one of our big pushes over the past couple of years, our freshman class has kind of gone back and forth with predominantly out of state compared to in-state. And so we do extra pushes to our in-state parents. And we look at it first and second year, they're very involved, but then third and fourth, they got it. And so they kind of like move out the way. And so our focus is really is on that first and second year, and then those Arkansans as well.
Great, thank you. Going to move along to the next question. I just wanted to take like a quick moment though, because first year families are so important in so many different ways. And we have lots of different folks with titles watching this webinar. I like showing this slide sometimes just to give a perspective of, at least from our customer base, the percentage of folks that are focused in these different areas. So 40% of the time we have folks focused on parent engagement from an enrollment perspective, 40% of the time around student affairs, student success, and then there's even a fundraising component here. What's interesting is first year families and that transition kind of like touch on all these different areas here. So whatever area you're in, there's probably a need to engage with first year families, which is the perfect lead in, of course, to this next question, which is, what is the first information you send to families here? And I guess, you know, in the same spirit of that, how do you build the relationship with those families early on? I guess this goes back to kind of expectations as well, but Quincy, are there things that you do here that you find help with success of connecting with these families and building kind of like that digital relationship?
Yep. And so the first thing they'll get from us is a general welcome where we're introducing our staff members, and so that they know that there's actually an office on campus that works just with parent and family members. First communication that we send out introducing ourselves, saying we look forward to seeing you at orientation in person, of course. And then after orientation, and so we'll get some, some feedback on that one. We'll get some, likes and all that good stuff. But then the first thing we send after that is a fall checklist, where we are telling them, these are all the things that you and your student should be getting ready for to prepare for the fall semester. Making sure housing contracts are done, making sure parking passes are purchased. And so all those little things like that, just getting them ready, because we know we don't want to send them too much over the summer. We just want you to be ready for the semester. And so, and that's how we start that relationship with them, making sure that they realize, first off, that, hey, there's an office on campus that you can call at any time, that you can get information from, but then making sure that you and your student are ready for the fall semester. Once the semester gets going, then we'll do our targeted outreach with specific themes, thematic things throughout the month, developmental issues their students are going to experience, them joining the parent association as a cardinal member, them attending family weekend. But the first, all that good stuff. But at first, it's just saying, hey, there is a place for you on this campus as well, and in this experience for your student.
Yeah. First of all, I love the idea of the checklist. That's great.
Yep.
I think parents are always looking for that. They're almost like looking for they're used to getting the calendar of in high school of what's going on, but now having a checklist of how to step back to is important. And I know one of the things that I always surprised me as I got more into parent engagement is that students want them to be involved. They expect them to be involved. So what's that appropriate level of engagement, and how do you set that? Jack, what are you seeing as far as the first information that other schools are sending out to first-year families?
Yeah, I think Quincy kind of hit the nail on the head there for the transactional information that I think is super important. Again, tying back to just making sure all the bases are covered for all the families who might know what to do or the ones who don't know what the next steps are. And then I think there's a whole other piece of this that ties back to, we talk about mattering and belonging a lot on the student side, making sure that the student feels like they belong on that campus. And I think that ties in nicely with what Quincy was saying too, that families need to feel like they belong in that community, that they're supported by the university. And I think that's an important piece of it, is recognizing how you can say to families, I see you, I know this is maybe an emotional time for you, I know this is, a lot to keep track of, but we're here to help. You have resources for you specifically. I think that emotional piece of recognizing students are transitioning, but also families are transitioning, and trying to, support them through that as they experience a lot of change as well, is a really important piece of it, so that they feel like they're included in the process and that they kind of belong within your school community.
And Jack, just on top of that, back in the day, we used to not include parents in anything. And so they want that now. They need that now. Yeah. And we want to make sure that they know the University of Arkansas is supportive of that. This summer, I had a parent who has sent multiple students to the institution with some larger gaps in there, as he told me. And I was like, oh, okay. So he was like, this is the last one. This is it. But he was like, y'all's messaging is very different now, where you want us part of this experience. You want to make sure that we have all this information. I'm like, yep, we realize the important role that you play. Because again, anytime that your student has an issue, they're going to call you first. And so we want to make sure you know about all the things here on campus.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about you're talking about student success overall, right? Everybody wants students to be successful. And if you think of who's the biggest partner in that, who wants them to succeed, it's the parents, it's the family. So creating a barrier there doesn't really make any sense at all, but it's also very generational as well. I don't know, Callie, anything else to add to this part of the discussion that you want to bring up?
No, Quincy's the pro on this. I wrote my own notes down too, so good job.
All right, great. So let me share my screen again. I thought this would be interesting to bring up. We're at the halfway mark, and if you have questions for the panel, please type them into the Q&A part, and we'll get to them in a bit. But this was one of the questions we asked from the RNL survey, which is most checked website resources for parents. And of course, it's got the COVID-19 dashboard. 72% said that was there. And academic calendar, I think, is a no-brainer. A lot of information about cost and account services as well. But just just, I guess, putting our panel on the spot here, anything jump out at you as far as like things that are maybe surprising or something that is an area that you definitely like to get to push information out about that can support these first year families? We're just going to have awkward silence until
Yeah.
somebody.
I think the most clicked this past year was definitely the COVID-19 area, and the more information that we put out, the more clicks we were getting on our items. So that is definitely not surprising at all. Actually, I'm more surprised it's not higher.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this was, I guess, a couple months ago. Are you seeing the COVID clicks increase, stay the same, or go down?
I think for us, we're strategic of also putting out announcements with our items, and the announcements really push those clicks. And we use the announcements for every COVID announcement because those are priority importance for us and for the parents.
Helpful. This is a good lead in then, I guess, to what content gets the most clicks. Is it just COVID? I guess let's put aside COVID for the moment, and what content has the biggest impact on student success, especially that that first year there. Quincy, do you have some perspective on this?
Yeah, for us, it's going to be what it has been in the past. One of our biggest clicks, besides COVID, of course, and academic calendar, because I would agree with all, like anything like that, that's going to be the top. But student employment and scholarships, those are always going to be some of our biggest clicks. And so we make sure we send that information out, because I'm also in charge of first year student newsletters. And so we send that out on the student side, but then we also send it out on the parent and family side, because we know the students are probably going to ignore it, but their parents are going to send it to them and be like, hey, you need to apply for this. And so student employment has been a big one for us. And we've had multiple offices send us that information, where then we push it out to parent and family members throughout the year. I think anything with money, tuition, anything like that is going to always be our most clicked items, because that's at the forefront of parents' minds when they're thinking about this college experience for their student.
Yeah, it's interesting. The student employment perspective is important not only for first year families, but then internships and career services. I think as they progress, we've definitely seen impact there at Campus CSP, which is just letting the parents know about career and job fairs, and how that boosts attendance by the students. I mean, the parents are the ultimate nudgers. Jack, are there things that jump to mind when you think across the 30 or so schools that you manage?
Yeah, I think financial aid definitely hops to the top. Housing content as well jumps to the top a lot. I think probably because parents want to know that they can, keep their student in school, pay for it. They want to make sure that they're, safe in their living situation. I think those are like the two most basic needs that parents probably care about most. So those two get tons of clicks. And then I hope I don't sound like a broken record here, but I think I consistently see that kind of emotional support content jump up to the top two, and helping parents to just think about how being the parent of a college student is different than the rest of it. Like all of their past experience, this is new for them. And this is a new parenting, and being a family and a support system for a college student is totally different. So, content around supporting students through change, things like what questions should I expect from my first year student, things like that can be really high impact. And I think really prepare families to support their student, like Quincy said, when they do pick up the phone and call back and get those interactions with their student.
The financial aid content's really interesting. Like just across the board, it gets a lot of clicks for all the obvious reasons. And when you think about parent involvement and why it's increasing year after year, a lot of it has to do with the financial implications and the rising cost of college. But I will say, a couple of years ago, we did an analysis of all the content that got clicks, I think in the first couple months for first year families. And for that time period, right at the start of school, we found that financial aid got the least amount of clicks just as school was starting. I think because the families are like, just needed a breather. from like they were just wanted to move their students in or get their students going. And so it's interesting that it's not just what you're sending, but it's also when you are sending it, which was just really, I remember when we did the study, we were just like blown away at financial aid, always the most clicks, except for those first couple months around the start of school. Callie, anything you think we're missing from this list, or maybe areas that you would emphasize?
The only other thing I would add is anything logistical, the steps to move in, the steps to orientation. I feel like that eases anxiety so much that if you can walk through that as detailed as possible, tons of clicks.
If I could add something here too, again, tying back to what you said, Dave, I think content seasonality is a really important thing to think about with all of this. When are things applicable? And I think it's very easy if you post something about financial aid and it doesn't get many clicks to be like, oh, that wasn't a successful post. But I think it's important to try things out at different times of the year and maybe even a few weeks, right? If you send that out in an email 3 weeks before, maybe next year it's the biggest amount of clicks you've ever gotten. So I think it's important to always kind of iterate on family engagement and try the same thing a few times, maybe at different times of the year, make small changes. And I think even things that you might not expect to have a big impact could really be a game changer.
Jack, I might be making this up in my own mind, which has happened before, but did you pull together a content calendar and did we share it on the site?
Yeah, well, we have a content calendar that is kind of pulled together in the background, just in my Google Docs. It's not very tied together, but we did a webinar on content management a few months back that kind of talked through different topics and different times of the year. We did a full analysis of what got most clicks at different times of the year and kind of pulled together the most important topics. So we have some materials and that blog post as well on our website that can help you kind of theorize about that.
So if you love webinars, you just can't get enough webinars.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. If you love scrambled Google Docs, just let me know and I can share the one that's living in the depths of my Google Drive.
Yeah, and we'll have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was to say, no, you aren't crazy, Dave. There is actually also an article on our website under the blogs and research tab that does do some seasonality highlights on what college students might be experiencing and the content that could resonate the best.
Cool. Thanks, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Quincy touched on this, and I think this is something that is so popular with our customers, which is how do you have campus partners in that help, and how do you get others involved? And how do they help? Quincy, I think you kind of touched on this on the last question, but like, how do you get that involvement? I mean, you know, parents can help out in so many different ways, whether it's like, you know, like you mentioned, like student employment, but how do you get those campus partners on board?
And so I'm going to say, do you have campus partners? Yes. Do they work out the way we want them to? No. So I think it goes back and forth. And so right at the beginning, when we got ESP, we're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have these meetings with all these folks. They're going to upload their own information and it's going to be wonderful. That did not happen. We had the initial meeting with all of our partners and they're like, yep, this is going to be great. We have a staff member in here that's going to handle it. Well, and then they didn't. And I was like, okay, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But, and so now I literally send people targeted messages. Hey, I need this from you for this. You have this, I noticed you have this big event coming up. You have this big program coming up. Let's talk about that and let's get that added. Housing has been one of our biggest partners because they have so much important information for first-year families, especially incoming and first-year going to second-year families. And then we are starting a new partnership with our Student Success Center. And so our Student Success Center has a program for 360 students. These are specific first-gen students that get a coach. And so this is a professional coach. They will have all 4 years of their experience here at Arkansas that really looks at their whole entire college experience in a 360 way, making sure academics are taken care of, financial is taken care of, their well-being, and so all that good stuff. And so what we're going to do, or what we're planning to do, I'll say what we're planning to do. What we're planning to do is,
be careful.
Right. What we're planning to do is add those specific coaching groups, those students' parents in specific communities in the portal, hoping that that will also build some community for those families and for that student as well. It works out really good in my head. And so we'll see if it actually works out in person. We're going to probably kick it off in the spring because that's when our new Student Success Center opens. They have a multi-million-dollar facility that is being built right now. And so we're just going to kick off all that at the same time. And then also that allows us to continue that relationship with those first-year families as they're transitioning to that second year with the 360 program. There have been talks of also offering those parents some kind of experience in person in the spring in the Student Success Center, where we are working together. And so lots of different things can go along there, but those partnerships are going to be very important. And if they don't come to you, just go to them. And that's what I've had to do. And we'll see what happens.
Quincy, I like how you leaned in on that one, which is just go to them. Callie, from the small school perspective, how do you get the help you need?
I think that's always the hardest part. We don't have dedicated support just for parents and families. So it's everyone is a part of the solution on this one. We try to be proactive and say when we know the calls are coming from families, we will put stuff out. Especially Quincy talked about housing and residence life being one of your main partners. That's the same with us. But it's now known that we have this system, and offices do reach out and saying, I've got a ton of phone calls about this same situation keep coming up. And I said, well, okay, what's your response? Let's create content around it. And then we push that out right away. And the small schools, we don't have enough hands on deck. And so this is a quick solution. And since they know that we have this, we have people coming to us, which is nice because we all need a little more help, and families are our partners. So it's a great solution.
So the partners get a sense that there's something going on. Either there's a program or technology, but you still have to get them on board with it. And I want to go back to Callie and Quincy on this. Are there any kind of metrics that you use that gets them to understand like how involved parents are? I mean, Callie, going back to your metrics, your click rate, I think that might be the highest I've ever seen actually. But email open rates are really high. Folks don't always get that. Does email open rate help, or are there other measures that really pull people in?
Yeah, of course. Anytime we show data, it is an eye opener. There's also we have more users than we have students. So we're having both parents or aunts and uncles in there too. So it's just showing that we have lots of contact with these families that can be supportive. So just the numbers of students towards users is very interesting to show as well. And all those graphs are very pretty too. Everyone loves a good graph.
Yep. And yes. Yep.
Yes.
And then I would also say, like, just word of mouth talking with other offices saying, oh, we're getting lots of calls about this. Well, we probably could put some information in the portal about that. Have you thought about that? And they're like, oh, okay, I never thought about that. Remember when I talked to y'all a couple months ago about this? Yeah, we could do that right now. And so that has happened a few times.
I feel like they need like maybe a Quincy Spencer bobblehead that you give to all the families that, has like your phone number there or ways to contact me or something creative.
I'm sure some people would like it, some would not like it.
We're going to edit this part out after the recorded webinar here. Jack, how about you? What are ways you've seen, maybe creative ways you've seen schools get campus partners involved?
Yeah, so two things. I think about your unconventional campus partners. I think campus partners that come to mind, financial aid office, housing office, things like that. But utilize your student workers, your orientation leaders, your campus ambassadors who give your tours. If they can write a quick blog post about what their experience has been like at that school, how that intersects with their identity, things like that can be really powerful and get a lot of clicks from families. And I think it ties back to everything that we've been talking about with making the family feel seen and like they belong. Hearing student perspectives can be really powerful. And I think the same goes for folks like parents' councils, those parents who have gone through the experience that you interact with directly in your office. They can be really powerful content and campus partners for you as well in terms of creating content that families really can interact with, feel seen and understood by. And in terms of comments, I think I see the most comments on posts like that say, you know, this is my experience as a family member at University of Arkansas. I feel like those posts get tons of comments that was like, this is super helpful. Really loved hearing this perspective. So things like that, which don't take a lot of legwork on your side. I know part of it is just that you might not have the time to write up all the content that you wish that you could write up. So looping in those folks who are probably super eager to share their perspectives can be really powerful.
The student perspective's a great idea. And I guess this is getting a little bit into Jack's Campus ESP origin story, but we at Campus ESP actually use students, active students, as our content providers. So one of the services we provide is pushing content into the schools we work with, into their portals, which you can approve or reject. But it makes it more authentic. And it's also, you know, parents want to know everything, but like really at the end of the day, we're engaging with parents because you want to help support students, right? So if you can have the students say what parents really need to know about, I think it comes across as super authentic. You probably have, you know, work study students in different offices that can act as those go-betweens, or they can write a story, or they know what they want their parents to know about.
Absolutely.
And that's really, Jack, that's where you started, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was a student worker in the orientation office, and my boss said, hey, you should go apply for this internship with Campus ESP. And I can tell you, I had the time as a student worker to write that content, but most of it was just spent, you know, doing my homework or answering the call that came in once an hour. So, you know, think about those folks who are already involved and doing work for your office, and how you can just utilize them to serve this population too.
Cool. All right, last question, and then we can open. I know there's at least one question out there that I see is what do first-year families need to know? And maybe like an actionable tip that you can give folks that are watching this that they can implement, you know, quickly. I don't know, Callie, do you have anything here that you jumps to mind?
I think families really want to know information early. The earlier the better. From the second that they deposit, they're hungry to get here and get started. So the earlier the better. You have to think time wise of when families are getting in the process of buying things and getting ready to come to campus. So you have to know those pieces. One of our biggest clicks is around buying their first laptop for college, and they want to do that around when they're getting their graduation party money. So, you know, like we're starting way before we're thinking about orientation, at least on our campus. So the earlier the better, and then understand where the family's mindset might be at that time.
Yeah, that is perfect. That kind of dovetails to one of the questions we got in the Q&A section here, which feel free to add additional questions in here. But it says second gen here. Also have college-age sons of my own, both pre-pandemic and now. Have to tell you, being first gen, second gen, third gen, all students need families involved to help navigate the enrollment process almost the same ways. I have twin 10th graders. But our co-founder actually just had his son enroll in college last year, and of course, you know, we're in the parent engagement, family engagement business, and every day he would just come in and just shake his head like, I'm so confused, and also the information that I'm getting is so inconsistent. So sometimes it's just you know, more information is better there, but it's interesting. It's gotten so confusing for folks. Everybody's busy. You know, how do you create those checklists, make it easy for folks? Quincy, how about on your side? What's your need to know tip?
I would agree with everything Callie said, and same way here at Arkansas. But one thing that's very basic, it's that reassurance that it's going to be okay. And sometimes parent and family members just need to hear that from a university administrator or a university staff member. It's going to be okay. We are here to help you. We're going to navigate this process together. You and your student will be okay. And that's one of the things I talk about a lot at orientation. We have deadlines and everything. We can get through all of that. But just knowing that there's an office, there's a person, and it's going to be okay really makes folks really, that belonging, that they feel part of this community. They realize that, okay, my student has chosen a good school to go to. my student is going to be okay, I'm going to be okay. I know that there's a person or an office or someone that I could talk to, a physical person, an actual person. I'm not going to get the runaround. But that reassurance is it's a big thing for folks. It really goes back to building that community and that experience on campus. I'm doing some research, finishing up our dissertation right now. And one of the things I'm looking at is that parent engagement piece and what that looks like for first-gen families and non-first-gen families. And one of the things that has come up is just knowing that it's going to be okay, and that reassurance from a university administrator that it's going to be okay. Your student is not just a number. Your student is an actual person that we want to work with. We want them to be successful. We have senior walk on here where every one of our students, when they graduate, their name is put on a sidewalk here. And so we, at the beginning, our goal together with you as your parent and family member is to get your name on senior walk. And so just saying that, we are reassuring you that you have made the right decision and it's going to be okay. We can get through all these little things. We can make sure that your fees get paid. We can make sure that housing deposits are done. We have connections with all those folks in these offices, but just knowing that it's going to be okay is a big one for me.
That's great. I think that's super important. And let me follow up one. So how do you really get them to believe that? Is it emails? Is it just consistent communication? Is it a video? Like what's your secret sauce?
We do everything that you just said. And so consistent communication, just like you had some data there, they want information. And so we're going to send it to them. They might not read it, but at least they know it's there. My neighbor here at home has a sophomore. And so she's like, Quincy, I get your messages. I see them. I don't read all of them, but I see them. And I know that you've probably sent me information about that. I'm like, you're correct. I actually did send you that information, Rebecca. I sent it to 20,000 parents as well. But nobody reads it. And so that knowing that they have that information and it's there, those tools are there. Videos, we do Facebook Live events all the time, just for Q&A. Some people might show up, some might not. Most of the time they don't, but they say, oh, we're gonna sign up for it, we're gonna do it. They don't do it, but whatevs. And then we do a lot of outreach where we actually have meetings with parents across the country through our regional parent groups, where we're meeting face-to-face with parents. And so that they know that, hey, there's somebody over there working with us to make sure my student is successful. And so lots of different ways that we have that information and that we get that information to them. But that constant communication, I think, is key.
So Jack, I pushed you off in the beginning. I pushed off your, flipping questions to you. How about closing this out here? What from your perspective, 30 schools, what do families need to know? What's your one big tip here?
Yeah. I think that Callie and Quincy covered what they need to know. I think it's the action and knowing that everything's going to be okay, that they're supported. But my tip there is just think about efficiency. I think a lot of times the folks that I work with are armies of one or two that are, it's in their job description to communicate with families. Sometimes it's not in their job description. And it's just something that they've picked up because we need to do it and no one else has done it. So think about efficiency. I think that ties back to the students that you can loop in, the campus partners that you can loop in, the quick things that you can do to make parents feel like, hey, it's going to be okay. I'm supported. Here's what I need to do. And if that's typing up a checklist, if that's, opening up a Zoom and just recording yourself as someone on campus talking for a few minutes and sending that out to families as a video, I think those little things that don't take a lot of time and don't take a lot of legwork from you can still be really important. And I think can sometimes make more of an impact than the events that you plan out for months and months, right? So think about the efficiency of this and just try a bunch of random things and see what sticks.
Cool. Thanks, Jack. Mel, I don't see any questions. So unless I'm looking at something wrong on my multitude of screens here, I'm assuming you don't see any questions as well, right?
Nope,
Okay.
we don't have any other currently right now.
So if you do have questions, but you're just one of those people who's shy on a webinar, we have email addresses here that you can reach out to folks directly. Quincy and Callie especially, huge resources here. And I just want to say, Quincy and Callie, we know you guys are super swamped. This is a really busy time of year, but it's just such a great time of year to discuss these things, because I know everybody's kind of like dealing with them right now. So I want to say truly thank you for taking the time, not only this hour, but we did an hour of prep beforehand where we kind of do like, I guess, the green room kind of thing, and that was fun as well. So thank you so much for your time here. And Jack, even though you stole the room I wanted to be in, thank you, Jack, for being part of this. And of course, Mel, for organizing everything. Again, we are going to send the recording and the deck out to everybody afterwards. But if you have questions, if you have, need resources, please, any one of us. And again, Quincy and Callie, thank you again, and hope everybody has a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.